So it's the morning after the night before, the jeers after Rachel Reeves' tears, which symbolise the states of our government at present. As stated yesterday, I can have some compassion for her crying there, but I am fully aware she held no compassion for us, whether it's throwing us in jail for an edgy tweet, whether it's ignoring the mass rape of our youth by foreign gangs. These people are not on our side and will do anything to cling to their liberal delusions of how modern Britain and the West is some utopia rather than the hellscape it's turning into. But utopian as they may well be, the reality is slapped across the faces of the front bench. As somebody pointed out yesterday, the women on the front bench look like they've just come off a 4-day bender and are sobering up in the House of Commons. How these women ever made it into power, I'll never really know. They look like they'd be better suited organising some radical feminist evening at SOAS University before going back to their day job as English teachers. It's plain for all to see that this government are completely out of their depth. They're in a total mess and they're only held together by the robotic Keir Starmer, who doesn't really have emotions and can't tell that everything is on fire around him. But everybody also knows that Starmer himself is the ultimate liberal managerial stooge. He'll just do whatever he's told to and has no real opinions of his own. At the moment, it feels like Starmer and the Labour Party are completely checkmated. Not that Starmer will notice, but he's tried to court the right after losing the Heartland vote, and now he's lost the left in trying to signal back to them, while failing to win over the centrist dad at the same time. What this all points to is eventually this Labour government is going to collapse if things continue this way. But what does that mean? Then we're going to be led by Big Fiery Ange, the Ginger Machine, Chip Shop Debs. I mean, when you think we can't sink any lower, reality says, yes we can, and you will. I mean, part of me feels like all of this is some divine retribution for the Brightons taking our foot off the pedal, thinking, look, someone else will sort it out down the line. It turns out, no, they won't. If we don't bother trying to maintain the traditions of our country and keeping things sharp, then you end up with Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner and Kemi Badenoch. And this is my point. While the Labour Party are in total disarray, the Tories are trying to restructure and show us that they agree with us now about globalism and liberalism. But we know it's complete horseshit because they had 15 years to show us they agree with us, but they don't because they're liberal uniparty types deep down. I mean, even their new leader is a useless female Nigerian diversity hire meant to play to the left. I mean, how are we supposed to believe in them with that? And of course, all of this is a gift to Nigel Farage, who really doesn't have to do anything. What's that Sun Tzu quote? Never interrupt your enemy while he's making a mistake. All he's got to do is hold the line and he'll be a shoo-in for number 10, at least Kingmaker. Yet there's a bigger question around reform that's starting to fracture the political right, and that is the question, can reform really fix anything? Because is the system just too poisoned, just too dominated by the tentacles of globalist liberalism that it's unreformable? Case in point, this is some research by Lewis Brackpool. There are some people doing some really good journalistic work on the right at the moment, by the way, but he's entered a Freedom of Information request and found that the UK government agenda in 2020 was totally aligned with the WEF's inclusive growth agenda. Essentially what this means is a total commitment to globalisation, no matter which party is in power. Now, I'll link Brackpool's tweet down below so you can read more into it, but the reason I'm referencing it is because it symbolises how power works in the modern Western world, i.e. it's not national, it's international, it's globalist, and if we're still thinking on the national level, we're never really going to change anything. And this leads to the major question around Farage. Is he really going to reform the system? Is he really capable of reforming the system? Or is he just going to integrate into the system with more of a sort of 90s libertarian flavour? It seems to me like it's probably going to be the latter because A, he wants power himself, he seems to struggle with other strong characters, and B, judging by his recent statements, he seems to think that liberalism is going to last. I say that because of his line on identity, on white Brits becoming a minority in Britain, on having to court the Muslim vote, on saying that deportations are impossible. This is essentially just mainline Tory stuff. And economically, he still seems to hold to the Thatcherite 80s notion of the independent trading nation state battling the world on its own. However, in this day and age, all that's going to do is tie you in with the globalist system all the more. That's why I believe the real energy in the West is in challenging globalist liberalism now. People do not want more immigration. They don't want more multiculturalism. They want their tradition, they want an end to globlib, and they want the end of this materialistic obsession with more than just matter. We have a soul, and that needs to be spoken to. To me, the real opposition won't be mounted in Westminster. It will be mounted in creating rival institutions, rival think tanks, rival economic systems, and so on. Now, I'd like to see these function on a pan-European, arguably even a pan-Western level. That's the level that globalism functions on, after all. However, we have to start where we can. Now, I think this is why ex-Reform MP Rupert Lowe and political commentator Charlie Dowd's new initiative, Restore Britain, is a good idea. As we understand it, it's not a political party, but an initiative to try and shape policy, to try and get a collation of the energy on the right in the country and push for that in political terms. Now, this does seem to be quite popular on the online right especially, and while I could have some criticisms, like I'd like to see this on a more pan-European level, or they've introduced people like David Starkey on their board, he tends to be quite irascible and, though right-wing, a bit of a liberal boomer. But look, lesson number one in politics is you can't please all the people all the time. The main point is you have to start and crack on, and they should be supported and commended for having a go and getting something started. Anyway, as I often say, we are living in dark times, chaotic times, and things are painful and they're going to collapse around us. But that also means it's a time for massive opportunity, massive regeneration, massive re-understanding of who and what we are. In many senses, these are exciting times. Do let me know what you think down below. Do consider subscribing to the channel and enjoy the rest of your day.